Go ahead and be giving you guys a deck profile. One of these decks I've been running out in my locals, trying to see how it goes. I used to play virtual, but obviously after the ban list, VFW took the fat hit, so virtual world is not as top as it used to be. Pretty good, has potentials. I'm currently working on a different build for that. When the time comes, I'll gladly give you guys my deck profile. But today, what I'm gonna get started with is a deck profile for a deck that's a bit interesting, that no one really sees coming, and I feel like has definitely potential as a control deck. It definitely has this up there with the grind. I literally been running at the last 2 tourneys in my locals. My biggest advantage is that no one really knows what it's doing or what they could do or their potential. And honestly, my best matchups usually come against combo. And honestly, the Outledge matchups are pretty good as well. I grind hard with them, especially I had a Outledge Invoke Dogmatica combo deck going on. Not really combo control. And man, our game one really took up about like 30 minutes of our actual game. Had a draw on that one, but that's pretty good. But anywho, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into this profile. So today I'm gonna be showing you guys a deck profile for my Witchcrafter. No one really sees this coming. It's pretty interesting. I really like this deck. It's really fun to play with. It's very different compared to what most people are used to. They're pretty sweet. I feel like they have a lot of potential to them. A couple of supports more, and they could definitely do some things. Other than that, they're also adorable looking cards. You can't go wrong with them. But first things first, I'm going to start off with my first card here. Witchcrafter Madame Vier. Or Vier. Can't go wrong with her. She's your main boss. Ideally, it's kind of start off with her, and hopefully you have some spell supports to back you up. She's pretty cool. She's an attack booster during damage step, and also she's a monster negate for any monsters in the field, so no one really sees that coming. She's able to block off people combo, especially when you go to Jungle Link. You just hit them at the right time. Jungle Link does tend to get stuck if you are able to target them, especially prevent the Savage. Usually when I went up against Jungle Link, their best case scenario was going into Heretic Seal and passing. That's the best way I got him into. So if you're around of her, you really want to one into her because she is kind of a brick, and you ideally never want to open up with her. Every time I open a hand with her and I see her, I'm like, damn, most likely I'm going to lose this game if I can't play around it. But she's pretty cool, good at 1. You want to keep her at 1. Next up, Witchcrafter Hane. She's super dope. She's pretty much gives protection to your other spellcasters. They can't be targeted except for her. Well, card effects. They can still hit targeted for battle, but they can't be targeted with card effects except her, which is pretty dope because usually you want to combo up. You want one of her, one of these, and you so happen to get both of them. Pretty much anything is targetable with card effects. It's super dope, super dope. But she go ahead and holds it down for you. I call her my shooter because she pops off, and she's also usually your main beast stick of the game, of the deck. They usually want to run her at 2 because, I mean, you don't want, who doesn't want 2 beaters? She go ahead and puts in that work. She's super dope, so I usually run her at 2. And all of these monsters, big boss monsters, are special summon from the deck, which is super dope. That's something I like about this deck. They pretty much get their small beaters to come out and bring out the big beaters. And then Witchcrafter Golem Aurora, I rarely say her name. I run her at 1. She's super dope because you usually get her in her hand. You have any of your other spellcasters. The only good thing about her, she's not just Witchcrafter support. She's spellcaster support, which is super fucking dope. So go ahead. Any of your thing gets attacked for attack or by card effect, and you have her hand. You get the free summon and a bounce, or if you need CV, or if you need solo to add like a Witchcrafter spell from your graveyard, you could go ahead and add it to your hand. But I like her because she bounces. So usually, if something declares an attack on me, if I'm targeted for something, most of the time I usually have her in hand if they're there on field. So I'll go ahead and have her use special summon to protect her most of the time. And I get the free 28 beat stick. And then she also comes back to your hand during your opponent's next standby phase, which is super cool, so she can recycle herself back and back. So I only run her as 1 because I try running her at 2. She could be a brick at times, but I mean, she does put her work in, which is kind of cool. Second up, we have Witchcrafter YuGiOh. She's super cool. Honestly, if I feel like running this at 2, I might just go ahead and drop her. She's like a third beat stick in a way. She's usually 2000 but her main effect is being able to like bring any of these out from your hand. If you just got to discard a spell, she special summons it from your hand. And then her second effect is pretty much if she's on the field, one of these in graveyard, any of them in graveyard, she be herself to special summon out from graveyard, which is cool. It has its moments where it shines. As usefulness as she is, most of the time I do not end up going into her, so she definitely could be cut out. But she's also pretty helpful, at least at 1. After that, I'm going to start off with this main small ones now. So Witchcrafter Shemitah. She's super cool. All the small Witchcrafters have the first effect of where they could distribute themselves, discard a spell, and special summon any of the big ones out, or any other Witchcrafter from the deck, which is super dope. The only difference between them is their graveyard effect. So Shemitah's graveyard effect is when she's sent there, you go ahead and banish her and dump a different Witchcrafter spell. Usually I'll send By Street, because if I don't open up By Street, I use Shemitah to go ahead and dump my By Street to the graveyard, which is super helpful, because then at the end of the phase, it gets recursion back to the field. Super nice. The resource recursion in this deck is crazy, man. Like legit, you could literally dump 4 spells to continue comboing off, and as soon as you go into your end phase, you get 4 spells back in your hand. Like you literally like could neg 4 and then break neutral at the end. Crazy. I love it. That's like my main thing about this deck. Like its recyclability of resources is amazing. And something that no one sees coming too, because they pop your back row, pop any of your spells, you discard spells, they're like, that's fine. Next turn I'm getting it back anyways. So they can't kill you, you're just gonna get everything back. But I keep her at 3. She's a main one I like to open up with. It's because of the fact that once she's sent to the grave, I can banish and dump. So she's super useful to get more resources and spells in the graveyard. So I keep her at 3. From that, we're going to Pator. Usually, I've been trying to figure out ratios. It's kind of my thing right now. I am trying to keep to a 40 card deck because I want consistency more. But Pator, she's also pretty dope. I don't mind opening up with her. She's not as, I want to say, as resource regaining as Shemitah is, because Shemitah is banish and dump. But she's pretty dope because she's able to banish herself. You draw 1, but you have to discard a Witchcrafter. So sometimes I don't mind opening up Witchcrafter spells because I know I could just dump her, banish, and go ahead and draw another one. Just dump my spell because I'm gonna get my spell back anyway. So it's a free plus. Excuse me. So I run her at 2. She's a pretty good opener. I like to use her the graveyard effect more than I like to open her with her because I rather have Shemitah as an opener. But I run her at 2. You can't go wrong. She's also a pretty good Witchcrafter. And also, all her Witchcrafters are pretty fucking dope. I like their art. Like, second Witchcrafter, Jenny, however you want to say her name. She's super dope. I played Witchcrafter way before any of the, when they first came out. So, like, way before any of the support. And when they dropped the support for her and the other spells, oh my god, it makes the deck so much better. So much useful. A lot more potential. They could either get another spell. Their new trap card is pretty cool. The new spell that came out is pretty cool. They all help, but when she came out, she's so dope. Because usually I could send her and Creation to the graveyard, banish her in Creation to search out any of the big boss. Usually I'll use her in Creation and graveyard. I'll use Creation to search something. Then I'll use Creation, pretty much the second Creation by banishing her and the Creation spell to go ahead and search like Aurora. So like I'll get my big beat stick and then I'll just use her and Creation and graveyard, banish them both to add her to my hand so I can get an extra protection and then an extra beat stick and a bounce as well. So she's super dope. I run her at 2 just because her graveyard effect is not as strong as the other ones. It's just that it does help with search and extend if you need it to extend. But other than that, she's pretty cool to keep where she's at 2. To finish off my Witchcrafter monsters, here's Witchcrafter Pator, or Pottery. She's kind of cool. I mean, her helpfulness is very, very situational. But again, she's also another starter to help get into your big boss. Is when she hits the grave, if you have no other cards, the only thing I don't really like about it because your restriction is, or I guess your activation, in order to activate her second effect in graveyard, you need to have no cards in hand. And that's like very hard to do when you're playing Witchcrafters because most of the time you're going to have either spells, hand traps, or an extra boss monster in your hand. So her second effect in graveyard barely comes up, but not gonna lie, the times that it has come up, it has been pretty freaking clutch. I've been once against, I was playing against actually a Dragonlink player. Actually twice, now I think about it, a Dragonlink player and an Outlich player. I had pretty much went through a whole hand because my hand was like, wasn't the worst, but I pretty much had to dump a bunch of resources in order to get into an area like I could do something, protect myself. But went through the whole hand. She so happened to be my starter, and luckily I was able to banish her and just retrieve a spell card, which made my hand a lot more live, a lot more useful. Made Madame Vendera live, which was pretty cool. But I only keep her at 1 because she's not that helpful usually, and I might play around. I might play around with my ratio still. I'm still debating how I want to play. I might throw another Pator. But again, I'm gonna see how this goes. I kind of been having some success as kind of a decent rogue deck. It's not crazy deck. Obviously, Witchcrafters aren't going to top anything soon, really. But I mean, they definitely do have potential to be a decent control deck depending how the format is. So I keep her on 1. She's kind of cool. Up next is going to be my hand trap package, which obviously the basics. 3 Ash Blossoms, you already know what she does. She handles business. She's pretty cool. She's cool. I like it. And the gold max, speaking of Ash Blossom, the maximum gold rarity, honestly, Felicia slept on. Super nice. It's actually like, it feels like it's textured. Like you can feel like the rise of the card. This is super cool. I like the way all the gold outlines everything. Is super nice. So I run 3 Ash Blossoms, the standard. And this is some spice because my locals is usually a lot of Dragon Link players and a lot of Outlich. So it's a very meta. So I've been kind of developing my deck to be kind of an anti-meta, and I usually main Artifact Lancias because no one expects you to main these. And these, well, even when I used to play against Virtual World, like this would stop Virtual World, this will stop Dragon Link if you hit them the right time. Even Outlich will be able to prevent Outlich from using your trap effects. This will stop them and stun them for at least a turn and get me in a better position. So I run 2 Lancias, 3 Ash Blossoms. And the biggest thing with this deck really needs is draw power. So for my draw power, I'm running 2 Product Prosperities. Super nice card. You really don't use your extra deck in this, so you just fire off your extra deck all you want. 2 Extravagance, super nice. 4 draw power. I might bump each of these up to 3 because I want more draw power and the consistency of this deck. But as of right now, my draw power engine is just these 2 Prosperities, Extravagance, and look how nice Prosperity looks. Oof, oof. And the Extravagance Prismatic looks pretty nice too. Ooh, there it is. So that's kind of it. I run 4 cards for draw. To get into the Witchcrafter spells now. So creation, I run 2 creations. I've been trying to play my ratios. I might bump this up to 3 just because this is your search card, and like sometimes you open up a hand full of spells, and if you don't see creation, you know you're gonna be sitting duck for at least a turn or 2. My deck is a very go first type of build deck. I try to keep control as much as I can. So that's why I build my deck the way it is. I want draw power, I want the control. But I am running double creation because it's their search spell. Double holiday because it's the archetype, built-in archetype monster reborn. Can't go wrong with it. And the great thing about all these, if you don't use their effect that turn, you could use them as pretty much activation costs for your monsters. They come back to your hand and they keep recycling themselves, which is super nice. So 2 creations, 2 holidays. I'm cutting it to the 1-ofs. Witchcrafter Draping, pretty nice. I like it. Thinking of throwing an extra one of my side decks when I go against like Outlich players or like back row heavy players, because they always set so much back row, and I usually want to bounce it in the end phase because I don't want them to get that advantage. So you know how Outlich control is so trap heavy reliant, back row heavy reliant, and it is the only thing that gets people going, that gets their engine going. So I'm trying to prevent it. I use this card as much as I can to prevent their engine to start. But I run out of 1-of right now. Buy Street. Buy Street's pretty nice. Honestly, super underrated card. Very nice. Actually, it's pretty good secret too. But Buy Street itself is pretty much your protection. Kind of like Diagram from True Draco, but for Witchcrafters. And not a field spell. So it protects your monsters from being destroyed twice in a row. Or for being destroyed. So it had to be destroyed twice in order for them to actually leave the field. Super nice. And then with this one too, it has an effect. If I don't have a spell in hand and I need to activate a Witchcrafter effect, I can send this card from the field to your graveyard and use that as cost, which is super cool. It gives it a nice little advantage. But I only run it at 1. Usually you don't want to run more than this because the only thing that's really useful about it is that it protects your Witchcrafters from being destroyed. Super cool. But I only run that at 1 for now. Still playing ratios, see how it goes. Next is Unveiling. I want to run this at 2. I just unfortunately only have 1 copy for now. But Unveiling was one of those extra new spell supports that they got. Super freaking good. It pretty much allows you to special summon one of the boss. Say you open up with like a boss monster, because if you can't get into the boss monster, if you open up with a boss monster, you're usually like, damn, screw, because you don't want to open with the bosses. You want them in the deck so you can special summon them. But you open with a boss monster and one of these bad boys right here, you go ahead and activate and special summon that boss monster. And the cool part about this, once you activate this effect, your opponent can respond to any of your Witchcrafter or Spellcaster's effect afterwards, just because the effect of this. And not only that, it also gives you the recursion effect. They all have the recursion effect, but you have to wait to your next end phase if you activate the effect. And this is a quick effect. Usually I could set it If I don't need it in my hand, set it, have a boss monster, wait to their effect. We usually go into battle or anything, boom, pop it out. I got a boss or a monster in the field. It's super nice. You can't respond to it. I like it. So I usually have it on one for now. I'm getting my second copy soon. Another one of Witchcrafter I run is the Witchcrafter Scroll. This card's pretty cool. It's kind of like Buy Sheet where you could if it's on the field, you can use it as material, which I really mostly use it for. But its first effect is pretty nice as well. If your Witchcrafter monster destroys a monster by battle, you get a free +1 you draw. So it's kind of nice. Other than that, I don't see that much use for it. It's mostly in here because it's a spell and it's a Witchcrafter spell, so it comes back to the hand. I usually use this card, and sometimes I'll hit the field, and most times it'll just sit there. Don't use its effect as much until I start pushing per game, which is pretty cool. But I keep it as the one. Collaboration, on the other hand, interesting card. It's kind of like your go for game card because it allows your Witchcrafter monster to attack twice that turn, which is pretty nice. But again, I might drop one of these too, just to add the extra, like an extra unveiling, or one of these, drop these two to add an unveiling and an extra Witchcrafter tribe. Just because I'm trying to keep at 40. These are useful, but not as useful as you think they'll be. They're mostly in there because they're spells, which is kind of cool. And their names. Because Madame Vendare, I forgot to mention her effect, but Madame Vendare, she's able to boost, attack boost, depending on how many spells you have in your hand with different names. So sometimes I just keep these in hand just for their names. So when I when I attack a monster or beat over a beat stick, I just reveal like 2 or 3 spells, and boom, I'm at like a 5400 banger, and it's pretty cool. And that's one thing I like about it. But yeah, these are mostly in one-ofs just because you're not as used as often compared to the other ones. So I keep them in hand. Another one-off, I might add another one, is Magician's Left Hand. Super nice, especially against the Eldritch matchup. Negates pretty much the first trap. I used to run the right hand. I might run left and right hand again just because they're stun cards and more of control cards, which is super nice. I actually went up my one of my locals actually has a Mystic Mindburn player. Pretty funny. Degenerate as deck, I know. I run one too myself, but I don't really use it as often anymore because it's degenerate. And I actually like to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And you know, sometimes you just sit there and like no interaction at all. But left hand is super fun to use. Right hand as well. I throw right hand back in. I'm just running left hand right now because like I said, my locals is mostly like Outlich players. Like I have like 3 or 4 Outlich Dogmatica players, like in Shaddai Invoke players. That's why I switch out to the right hand. But this card's kind of cool, good for control. And then I run 2 Super Polys. This is where I start becoming a little anti-meta, or pretty much just slow my opponent down. Super Poly is like kind of slept on. I feel like in this format, no one's really running it as much as they used to anymore. No one really sees it coming anymore. It's super good to remove your opponent's field or get things out the way, which you need to. So I'm running it at 2. I might bump it up to 3, but like I said, I'm trying to keep it at 40, so my ratios might change over time. I might see what works for me. Might spend 2 turnies doing what I gotta do. So this goes, but I'm running this currently at 2 because you never could go wrong with Super Poly. Super good card. And to jump into like my final round of spells, I am running 2 Secret Village of Spellcasters. Usually if I get my cards up, one of my Witchcrafter monsters, and I get this on the field, usually it locks my opponents off from using spells. The majority of decks, especially go up against Dragon Link, they rely a lot on spells like extenders. If you can shut down their spells, most of the time if I had this and Witchcrafter, like their biggest board they make afterwards is just Heretic Seals. And that's literally all they got. Because I stun them so much. Or usually no one sees this coming. They require their spells to be used a lot. So you use these, I run 2 of them just because I could get into. And I run the one of Mystic Mind because this deck is a bit slow. Most of the time you're all going to end with 1 monster in the field. So I use Mystic Mind to slow the game state down enough for me to get advantage and become to pop off. Because Mystic Mind is a one card that everybody hates. But I swear to God, it'll literally stun your opponent long enough for you to get into a place where you can start taking controlling the game into a more manageable game state for yourself and the Witchcrafters. Super cool card. Degenerate, I know, but it does what it has to do. And then Terraforming, obviously do search for any of my field spells to see where I'm at. If I'm going, usually with the Mystic Mind, I don't try to open. I don't want to open up with it. It's more of if I need to slow the game state down, I need to stun and get myself more hand advantage, or look for something, or dig deep into my deck for stuff. But Terraforming helps me decide where I want to get into. To run off the kind of last cards in my deck, I am running one Witchcrafter Patronus. Super nice. It came out with the unveiling, so this support card or child card is actually super useful. Or pretty much recycling your banished cards. Like I said, when Witchcrafters go to the graveyard, they banish your costs or they have their graveyard effects. And this Patronus allows you pretty much to recycle your banished Witchcrafter monster, whether from banish or graveyard, and search out spells, which is super dope because it allows you to get actual advantage. You're like, man, if I really need my Monster Reborn Holiday, if I need my Creation the Searcher, boom, activate Patronus, recycle my banish, and boom, I'm searching. I'm back in business. I only run one of right now. I want to boost up to 2. I'm just waiting on my second copy. Super good trap card. Really support that the deck needed. The final run off my final trap, Metaverse. Can't go wrong with a Metaverse. This deck honestly really excelled when terraforming. The format that terraforming and Metaverse were both at 3. This deck was amazing because I was able to stun so well. The triple Metaverse really came clutch so many times. The terraformings came clutch, but you know, everything happens for a reason. Unfortunately, we have these back at 1. But other than that, this card does put in work when it needs to put in work, and I really shout out to Metaforming. So that kind of rounds off the main deck. I'm gonna go ahead and slide into the extra deck, and then from that I'm gonna go ahead and show my side deck that I got building on. So for my extra deck, literally it's just pure super poly targets depending on I'm going up. Right now there's some of them are just generic, some of them I'm trying to figure out. One I don't have, and it's Fire Fist, Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Swan, and that's more for my zoo matchups because they're all they're earth and they're also beast warriors. And so that's the one super poly target that I'm missing. I'll put an image on it here somewhere so when I talk about it, you guys see what I'm talking about. But I'm going to be adding that into my extra deck soon. But for my extra deck, Panther Dragon, pretty good target. Dragon and Machines. Honestly, I don't know when this might come up, but if it does come up, I have it. It's kind of like a slow space. I'm still trying to figure out more super poly targets that I want. Another super poly target that I'm missing is Starving Venom Dragon. That card, I had a copy. I misplaced it. It was a secret rare too, man. I misplaced it. I don't know where I did it, but I gotta go find it in my book somewhere. Hopefully I find it, but I need to add that. I'll add an image up here as well. El Shaddai Construct. Like I said, a lot of Shaddai players, Outlich players at my locals, so I usually run this as well. Comes in handy when I need it to come handy. Usually wipe their boards. Diplexer, Chimera. Surprisingly, there's like 2 or 3 Salamangreat players who come in now and then, and I usually use this to help me get rid of their board most of the time because they're right now Solid is really just Axis Kotog or Turbo, so I use this usually to get rid of it. El Shaddai Window, again, to mess with the Shaddai players because I'm sick of getting bullied by them. Nah, I'm just kidding. But good target. If I could get a window from their materials on my side, I know that slows them down tremendously because now they're getting tasted their own medicine with a window. So I mean, at that point, you're just gonna most likely in position to win game. Another one is Outlich the Mad Golden Lord. I feel like when this first got announced, like everyone's like, "What the hell is this card for? Like, who the heck is gonna run this in the Outlich package?" And my thing was like, "Man, this would be a good super poly target." Honestly, usually one of the traps in this would just clear your opponent's board. The only issue is that they do get to trap in the graveyard, and they do get an Outlich back in the graveyard. But I usually run IDP in my side deck. I was maining it for a while, but I just took it out for now. But Outlich the Mad Golden Lord is a good way to me to clear the field if I need to clear the field. It invites Vision Hero Trinity for when I play against heroes. There's a few hero players that come now and then to my locals, and this just helps me get over their board. That Dark Law is unforgiving. That Bane is unforgiving, man. But I hit the super poly, get rid of the board, and this is how me push your game once I get to that position. World Childless Guard Dragon. Honestly, this is kind of just in here because it's space filler, really. This has not come up yet. Usually when people go against me, I never had a super poly when they had 3 links. But I know one of these days, especially against Dragon Link, because they usually link off a lot, and they ever get into position where they have like Romulus, LP, and Pisty, boom. I just clear the whole board and go and take it, making myself a banger, which is pretty nice. Chimera Tech, Fortress Dragon. This is a little random, but it's just one guy in my locals who runs a Dragoon Cyber Dragon. It's like Dragoon Turbo with Cyber Dragons. And this is kind of just for him. Mostly because Dragoon is a pain in the ass to get over, but Chimera Tech is there just to have it. Mud Dragon of the Swamp, good generic super poly target. I really combos off a lot, and then there's gonna be a point in time where they come with same attribute but different types, and that's just here for that. Prank Kid, Rocket Right. There's a Prank Kids player. There's a Prank Kid Adamantium player, and then there's just a pure Prank Kids player, and this is pretty much for them. My extra deck is really subjective to my locals. I mean, obviously, when you're playing this deck, you really don't need an extra deck. I just decided to build a one that helped me actually do something at my locals. Means it's probably not gonna do much when you actually go to attorney, but then again, you always could just build your extra deck with super poly targets in mind, especially remaining super poly. You want super poly targets in mind. This one is kind of in here just because I don't have the other one. Invoke, I forget his name. Invoke Glacier or something like that. I had to look it up, but I put an image on him. But pretty much this is my substitute for right now. Pretty decent. Not as good as the other one. The other one's a lot more better than this one just because the materials are a lot more generic. This one requires Alistair and a fusion monster. So pretty much they have Mechaba on the field and if they have Mechaba and Alistair, I just go ahead and just super poly into this bad boy if I get the opportunity to. My other super poly target, and also when I go against Dragon Links, is Warlord Furious Dragon, because they're always going to have two Dark Dragons, especially now Dragon Link didn't get touched at all in the balance, which is outrageous, honestly. They should have at least had like LP nerfed a bit or something. But Konami loves their dragons, and they decide to let them live, which is fine. It's fine. We're okay. We're all mentally okay. Just Dragon Link survives another format for like the 10th time in a row, I feel like, but it's okay. Anyway, yeah, Warlord Furious Dragon. Keep him in there because we'll probably target against them. Invoke Mechaba. Feel like it has some potential to get here. Usually, like I said, I play a lot of Invoke players at my place, at my locals, and they usually Mechaba pass set back row. At that point, I know they're gonna have another Alistair in hand because invocation is crazy. So I know they're gonna have another one, and then from that, I usually just use this bad boy to get rid of both the Mechaba and the Alistair to stop them. But I'm pretty sure they're gonna go ahead and invocation again. But at this point, since I mostly run spells, or ever get into a position where I have my own Mechaba, I just negate their invocation, and usually it's paused and they have to pass. But you know, Invoke is not that bad of a deck. Usually get rid of him. Mechaba is a really strong card. And then final off, my last super poly target is Predaplant. I cannot pronounce the name, but we're gonna go Drago. Yeah, you all know what I'm talking about. Speaking is hard. Anywho, this is my last super poly target. Pretty cool, pretty generic. This is a fusion monster, dark monster. Pretty easy to get out, not that bad. Especially with everybody comboing off now here. And that's gonna be the final off my extra deck. Side deck now. My side deck's a bit different. I'm running double Nibiru, because combo decks are here. Double Drone Lockbird. I might bump these up to 3/3 each, depending how I feel. I'm just to play testing. Triple Dark Ruler no more. Especially when you're going up against Dragon Link players, you wanna pray and hope. If you're going second, you wanna pray and hope you have this in your hand, because man, those boards are very unforgiving. They'll get you going. So yeah, triple Dark Ruler no more. And for my anti-back row package, I was Harpies and then triple Cosmic Cyclone. I was running Twin Twisters, but the only thing, like if say you're playing against Outledge, like Twin Twistering their back row really doesn't do anything. Like they're just gonna go ahead and in the end phase banish those traps and pretty much keep their engine going. So I need to switch over to Cosmic Cyclone because I want to get rid of the traps and stop their engine. So Twister was good, but Cosmic Cyclone was way better. I'd rather pay the 1,000 and completely get rid of that card. And so that's gonna go and cut off my side deck for now. I am playing with ratio still. We're gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna keep trying this out until I perfect it. I do have a few more deck profiles I want to bring in. My other alternative decks I usually run. This Witchcrafter was just recently built. Still playing it, but my other decks I run are Earth Machines, inspired by Aerosol TCG. Shout out to him. Super cool dude. I saw his deck profile and it's like, man, that deck looks amazing. Like, I kind of always like playing something other than meta, even though my first main deck, or my recent main deck, was Virtual World. VFD Turbo was fun, but like after a while I was like, man, I need to enjoy something else. Like, it got repetitive going straight into VFD Turbo. Jesus, that's a mouthful. Not really, but so yeah, I have other deck profiles I'm gonna be adding on. Soon I'm gonna be throwing in some DB grind videos. Shout out to DB grind, but some DB videos as well. Just haven't got a chance to recording them. I'm also gonna be trying to do some live duels out here. So thank everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. If you guys have any suggestions about my deck, please go ahead and throw it down in the comments below. I really appreciate the help. Stay tuned for my rest of my deck profiles. And thank you guys. Have a good day. Appreciate it.